Food and food service restaurants, of course, have been front and center in feeling the pain of social distancing and the closure of businesses because of this pandemic. So how are they weathering this storm? I want to check in with Arlene Dickinson, who is a backer of many of them. District Venture Capital has just raised a new fund to invest in this type of business. Arlene, great to see you. And I guess I want to start with what you're hearing from your portfolio companies about how they are managing through this.
Well, nice to see you too. I mean, we're hearing from our portfolio companies that there's a different type of pressure for many of them because there's an increased demand. And so they're having to make sure that their supply chains are safe, that they're able to produce the volume that is required by the retailers right now and meeting the market demands.
And so what do they need? Is it lines of credit? Is it the kind of support that the government, the EDC-backed loans? And what are you most hearing that they need in order to do those kinds of sort of pivoting that a lot of them will have to do?
Well, a lot of them are requiring, it's typical PO financing. They're getting the orders, but they need to build the inventory and make sure that they can manage that inventory. So we're helping with investments in the venture space. Certainly what EDC and BDC are offering in terms of either supporting and backing POs or backing inventory control, et cetera, is very useful. And also now they are matching some of the VC investments that are being made in addition to that. So capital is always important for these growth companies, but in particular right now to be able to keep up with the demand, it's even more important.
And I mean, for many, of course, this will be the first time they've seen something like this. Just by definition, they'll be young startup sort of oriented businesses. They may not even have been through 08, 09. So what do you tell them about how to manage through this kind of crisis?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because, as you said, many of them have only been in business, sometimes a year or 2 to 5 years. So they haven't experienced a real significant downturn, or have they experienced a significant growth in their demand so rapidly. So we're helping them to make sure that they're preserving capital in the right way, that they're holding on to cash when they need it so that they have it available to them to take advantage of the changing market conditions as things happen. We're helping manage their supply chains with them to make sure that they have the ability to have clear line of sight and have backup plans in case their current suppliers are not able to keep up with the demand. So it's about supply chain management, it's about cash flow management, it's about ensuring that they're delivering and being able to meet the requirements while all operating in the context of a pandemic and ensuring that everybody is safe and well taken care of.
One of the issues, you could think about it in the context of meal kit companies, for instance, which are very much in demand right now. One of the questions we don't know the answer to, and we may not know, Arlene, until we know how long this goes on, because there's a difference in behavior that changes over weeks versus months, is do companies pivot and only have to pivot back? In other words, it's just costs for the short term, or are they changing their business model long term? When do you think we begin to know that, and how do they decide what to do about it?
I think we're going to see consumer patterns stay similar to what they are right now for quite a while. I mean, as we come out of this pandemic, and we will come out of this pandemic, as we come out of it, there's going to be some lingering changes in consumer behavior, whether that is using meal kits more often, whether that is going out less frequently, whether that is thinking more about, your food supply and where it's coming from and the traceability of it. I think these things are all actually long-term changes in consumer behavior. So yes, some of the companies are going to need to change their behavior simply to suit the environment, and then they'll have to pivot back to what they were doing. And many of them, though, are going to be able to move into the future with a new model that's actually going to serve a changing consumer.
Your fund has just raised $100 million. Give me a sense of how were you able to close out on April 6, 2020, and what your intentions are. Where will you invest this money?
Listen, I as you would know, I mean, raising capital takes time. So we've been working at this for a bit of a while. But, we were able to close it because the thesis of the fund is to invest in early stage, high growth, food, beverage, and health and wellness companies. And, my thesis has always been, and it is being proven out now, that people do require and want to make sure that they understand where their food's coming from, that Canada is a fantastic place because of our agricultural and health expertise, and that we can take those products and not only sell them into our own native markets, but also into export markets around the world. So we're looking for companies that are early stage, but are showing growth, have traction, certainly post-revenue. We're trying to help them grow to that next level. So, they might be doing anywhere from a couple $1 million up to $20 million in revenue today. And we want them to be able to escalate that with our capital and our expertise to help them grow.
All right, Arlene, great to have you with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That is Arlene Dickinson with District Venture Partners.